God for Coach Greg and his anabolic ice cream. Thank God for Rem finding out the perfect ingredients. So if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I am really into flavoring things with cookies and cream. As I've mentioned before, my son has celiac disease, and one of the things that you first start going through when you figure that out is there are certain foods that you can't eat. And you find out that you just can't have Oreos if you're a celiac, or at least you couldn't have Oreos if you were a celiac, because they have recently released these. See that there? Gluten-free Oreos. So what we're gonna do today is we're going to make the Remington James version of the Oreo McFlurry. So that means it's going to be very anabolic, very high in protein. We're just gonna change up a couple of the ingredients. They're gonna make it something that whether you have a gluten sensitivity, you're celiac or not, everybody can enjoy it. Let's get started by looking at the ingredients. First ingredient we are going to use is our gold standard whey protein, non-fat Greek yogurt, almond milk, unsweetened of course. We are going to use a little bit of the vanilla jello pudding mixture. Rem actually uses the Oreo version, but we're gonna use the vanilla because obviously we want this to be gluten-free. And this one is actually gluten-free because it doesn't have the real Oreo bits in it. And it wouldn't be anabolic ice cream if we didn't have our xanthan gum. And of course, our 0-calorie sweetener. All right, so we're gonna mix all this up in a bowl, then we're gonna put it into a food processor because I can't use my food processor on the scale. It's already too heavy and you can't remove the part that, whatever, you guys don't care. We're gonna mix it all up in a bowl, put it into the food processor, and then we're gonna have a little taste test. All right, let's get after it, here we go. All right guys, so we've zeroed out the scale. First thing we're gonna add in is our 23 grams of our cookies and cream gold standard whey protein. On the money. All right, 23 grams is in there. Next, we need our non-fat Greek yogurt. 43 grams of this in there. Oh, first scoop, exactly 43. Next, we have 33 grams of our almond milk. Pour this really slow. 33 grams on the dot. Next, we need our 2.5 grams of sweetener. 0-calorie sweetener, of course, so we're gonna measure that in. Perfect. We went to 3, but if it's a little bit sweeter, that's okay. No calories, we're not gonna worry about it. We're gonna put in our vanilla pudding mixture. It's gonna help thicken it up a little bit here. So we need 4 grams. Of course, 1.5 grams of our xanthan gum. I prefer to use guar gum, something like this that's gonna be a cold meal. You generally wanna use guar gum, but we'll use the xanthan gum because that's all we have today. 1.5, perfect, all right. Save the rest for later as we always do. The last ingredient, what we're gonna do, in Rem's recipe, he uses the Oreo cereal, which is a great idea because it is lower in calorie and you get that Oreo flavor. But for us here, because we can't use the cereal because it has gluten in it, we are going to use the gluten-free cookies that I showed you earlier here. Unfortunately, the one serving here is 3 of these cookies for 160 calories. So it's not a lot, so we gotta be very smart with it. We're gonna want some of the cookie for our topping. So what we're gonna do is take, as anybody who's ever been a kid knows, you just twist the top off, and there's that delicious frosting that we all know and love, and then we have our separate cookie here. So we're gonna take this, we're gonna save 2 of these for our topping at the end. So I'm gonna put one off to the side here, then we're gonna take this frosting here, and we're gonna try to distribute it as evenly as we can across our mixture. So I'm just gonna scrape a little bit off into one part of our mixture, and then maybe we'll do thirds, a little bit off over here, just to make sure that it gets all mixed around. The food processor is gonna do most of the work for us, but we might as well spread it out as much as we can. And these 2 cookies are gonna be what we're gonna end up crushing up and using for our topping at the end. But we're gonna crumble everything up so that it goes into our mixture a little bit better. So I have the 2 cookies here. What I'm gonna do is put them in this plastic bag, and then we are going to smash it into several bits and pieces so that it all mixes in really nice with our mixture. So here we go. I'm just gonna break them up a little bit before I start smashing here. All right, then we gotta close the bag. That's the key part. Make sure you have no air in the bag, or this is just gonna break up and explode everywhere on you. So get a nice bag that you can seal. All right guys, smashing time. I know it's hard to see against the dark counter here, but what we're gonna do is you take your spoon, take the end of the spoon, and then you just Smash it up, get it all crumbled up. Make sure some of the frosting all mixes in with what you're smashing up. Won't take long, just want to get into little bits and pieces. This is going to give even more of that authentic Oreo flavor that we would have with the cookies and cream flavored way. This is just going to help spice it up a little bit. Flip it over, give it a couple taps on that side to make sure it's all broken up. All right, that's probably enough there. And we're just going to give it a little bit of a mix up here, and we're gonna open it up and we're gonna go dump this into our bowl that we have. I noticed something as I was going along here making the recipe. There's something special that you can do, make it even tastier on top, so stay tuned to the end and we'll talk about that. All right, let's get back to the video. All right guys, so we're back over to the bowl. We have our mixture that we're gonna dump in here. Now you don't wanna lose any of the goodness, so I recommend you turn the bag inside out, like so, and then you go back with your spoon and you scrape off some of that flavor flav that we got there. We don't want to miss any of that frosting. As any Oreo connoisseur knows, that's the best part of the cookie. So we're going to scrape it all down. Save your bag. We're going to use that for the topping at the end. Here we're just going to mix it up a little bit. Man, I could eat that right now, I'm not going to lie, but we won't be a savage. We're going to actually make the recipe that we set out to make today. Once we start blending up, it's going to be nice and thick, very filling and satisfying and loaded with protein. All right, so let's go over to our food processor. We'll add this in with the ice and then we'll get to blending. And then you know what comes after that? Taste test time. All right guys, so we're over here by our food processor. We're gonna dump our mixture into here. We're gonna add some ice and then we're gonna blend it up. So let's get to it. Scrape the bowl. Don't want to leave any of that goodness in there. All right, last little bit. Every little bit counts here. Now we're gonna add some ice. Let's grab the ice. We got one handful of ice that we're gonna put into the blender right now. The more ice that you use, the thicker your shake's gonna be. So I'm gonna try a handful. We're gonna see how that comes out. All right, let's put it in. We'll blend it up. Here we go. All right, guys, ice going in. I think I actually want to grab a couple more cubes. All right, I got a couple more cubes. We want this baby to be thick with 3 C's. So we are gonna drop the extra cubes in there. All right, we're gonna put the top on this. And I know what you're thinking, fellas, it's not a Ninja blender, so is it gonna do the job? Well, this Cuisinart is pretty powerful. It's probably not as good as the Ninja, but we'll find out. But I think it's gonna do the job. Let's get to blending here. Here we go. Guys, so we got some ice getting caught at the top here, so I'm just gonna give a little swirl around here. We're gonna pop it back on for a couple more minutes, and we're gonna try this baby out. All right, here we go. I know what you're gonna say, that wouldn't happen with a Ninja blender, but here we are. So this is what we got after we're done blending here. Got a nice half-size version here. Now remember, if you wanted it thicker than this, you could always add more ice. I don't like mine too thick. This would probably just barely pass the over-the-head test, which we're not gonna do because if I take this off of the food processor, it's all gonna fall out in the bottom there. I'm not gonna demonstrate it, but you can get the idea. All right guys, so we're gonna scoop this out and we are going to try it out with our topping that we've crushed. Now, pro tip I'm gonna share right now. Here's what I realized as I was going. I did use the real Oreos with the frosting when I initially put it into the mixture. What was great about that was that there was actually some frosting that stayed on the bag. So I used the same bag when I did the topping. What ended up happening was the frosting went onto the little bits that didn't have any of that cream filling on it already. So I think the topping's now gonna be even tastier. So, pro tip is, use the same bag. Let's get back to it. Alright guys, this is what we got here for our McFlurry mixture. It's not as nice of a presentation as Rem's. I didn't have one of those fancy little cups, but as you can see, it's still very much Oreo looking, and I can't wait to try it. The last step we have to do is to add that Oreo topping on there. We already have our 2 crumbled up cookies that we're gonna use. Got a little bit more of that frosting on there from using the same bag when we put it into our mixture with the other cookies. So we're just gonna spread these across the top here, and we don't wanna miss any of it, so we're gonna take the bowl and just spread it around. Nice distribution here. That's what it looks like. Can't Can't wait to try this, guys. All right, let's get set up and we will do a taste test. I'm so excited to try this. You know, I've had the other version. I made Rem's version and that was delicious. So this is only a half version, remember, so you could double this up and you'd have 2 of these, even more if you wanted. But let's give this a try right now and see how it tastes. We got the Oreo bits on there. We got our ice cream ready to go. I'm very excited to see if this tastes the same with the new gluten-free Oreos. So let's do a little taste test. Dive right in here. Anabolic Oreos. Oh, wow. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I can't believe the amount of protein in this is just insane. You wouldn't get anything close to this in an actual McFlurry in terms of the macros. Out of this world. Thank God for Coach Greg and his anabolic ice cream. Thank God for Rem finding out the perfect ingredients to make this. This is so good. If you like Oreos, you're gonna love this. Oh, reminds me of childhood right here. So good. I think if I did it again, I'd probably add a couple more ice cubes in, so it'd be a little bit thicker. But this consistency isn't bad. It's really good. Bits on top, they're a must. Really brings out the Oreo flavor in the mixture. It's nice to try a recipe with the utensil. I'm not sure if you guys saw the cauliflower recipe that I did. That was a little messy. This is a lot cleaner. I'm gonna finish this up, guys. McFlurry recipe that my son can have as a celiac. You got a gluten sensitivity, you like Oreos, you're already in your glory now because they now have gluten-free Oreos. But if you're craving a McFlurry, you gotta make this recipe. It's so good. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Delicious.